Ladies and gentlemen, would everyone please stand? At this time, I'd like to introduce Robert Garrity Jr. Robert Garrity Jr. is an Army veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's a recipient of the Purple Heart, Army Commendation Medal, Army Good Conduct Medal, National Service Defense Medal, Afghanistan Campaign Medal, Global War on Terror Service Medal, Iraq Campaign Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Overseas Ribbon, Armed Forces Reserve Medal with the M device, and the NATO Medal. Thank you for your service. The floor is yours.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would everyone please remain standing for just a moment? We have a Milwaukee Police Department Sergeant Charles Irving Jr., who was killed when he was in pursuit of a felon, and his car was demolished and he died. Also, I'd like to keep Tennessee Police Officer Sergeant Daniel Baker, who was shot and killed while responding to a call about a suspicious vehicle in an area in Sam Vinard Road. Please keep our two officers in our thoughts and prayers and their families and friends while they go through this very, very, very trying time. Thank you. I'd like to bring this Wednesday, June 13, 2018, Board of Commissioners meeting to order in the Commissioners Conference Room at 10:05 a.m. Can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes? I'd like a motion for the approval of minutes. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Terriani?
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley?
Yes. At this time, we're going to go a little bit out of order. So I wonder if we can bring back, we're going to bring up proclamation presentation. It's going to be 18-0127.
Can you bear with us just for 1 second?
Sure, absolutely. I'm not going to do anything to you. Tell them. Well, very simple. Surprise, surprise. It's amazing how sometimes in life you think you're here for something else and you're not. Chief Garrity, we're here to celebrate your 40 years of law enforcement in Lackawanna County, and as you can see, all of your police officers are here, including your magistrate, that thinks so highly of you and all the people of Lackawanna County on behalf of the 214,000 citizens. So at this time, I'd like to have, I'm not sure which one of the officers would like to go up to the podium, or all of them could if they want, to say a few words, and the magistrate. They'd like to, the camera could just move over for a little bit so they can get over to the podium. Magistrate, I'm sure you would like to say a few words, and then we'll see who else.
Commissioner for the...
Oh, jeez. Whoa! Jesus. Magistrate, what did you do? Go on the other side of the podium.
That's all right. So
Walk around
what
it.
was the actual date that Chief Garrity started? With?
May 15th, 1978.
Okay, I was one. Yeah.
How old are you now, Paul?
I'm not going to say. You see the support here, Chief, and that's because we all respect your professionalism and your kindness to all of us as we do our jobs, and your aid in helping us do all our jobs. Since I started mine, you've been nothing but great to deal with and helping with me, and everything that I see you do and that comes out of your mouth is either is directly for the benefit of our high school students or the citizens of the greater Abington area. So for me, in the first 3 years of my job, interacting with you and seeing that really everything you do and say to me and interact with me is for the benefit of the people in our community, it's refreshing and it's great to work with you. And congratulations on such a milestone.
They can go around the other side.
Good morning, Chief. We pulled it off. Yeah. Pulled it off. A lot of help with your son.
Did a good job.
Commissioners, just so you know, Chief Garrity has 40 years of service within South Abington plus 5 in Archibald. So a total of 45 years. In our society today, that's amazing. And we support you. We love working for you. He's been the chief since I've been employed for over 20-some years. And I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of the department for being such a great leader. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. You know, we have a war hero here too, and I'm sure his father's very proud of him. Robbie, you'd like to get up and say a few words about your dad?
Like Sergeant Shawzik said, this was not easy to pull off. A lot of work behind the scenes went into this. For my entire life, my father's been in law enforcement. I've always looked up to him and tried to emulate him. And if I can turn out to be half the man that he is, then I did all right in life.
Oh, that's great.
Chief, the floor is yours if you'd like to come up to the podium.
As you can see, I hide my emotions very well. Okay? But I have to say, this is the best kept secret since the Normandy invasion. I had no idea. I was of the opinion my son was getting an award today, which he deserves. Okay, but thank you so much. Like, you know, this is such an honor to be with all these fine men and women, and I've had the opportunity over the last 45 years, actually, to work with some of the best people in the world. Okay, Lackawanna County is so fortunate to have the caliber of law enforcement that we do. You know, I would put our people up against anyone, anywhere, at any time. And, you know, they say if you like what you're doing, you never go to work. Well, I've never gone to work in 45 years because I love it every day. These people mean the world to me. They're my family. I have a wonderful family, a great son, and I'm the luckiest guy in the world.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I like to stay here and stand with my men, if I may.
Yeah, just
I
watch,
like to stay here and stand with my men.
Absolutely.
just watch the cord there, sir.
Commissioner Cummings.
Well, now that you have everybody in tears, I'd just like to say congratulations and your testament. Obviously, your son is very respectful of you and is a testament of how, what a great dad you are and what a great leader you are with all the men that you have that have honored you today. So congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Notarianni.
It's obviously a tribute to you that your men not only came here, but they're very happy to be here. When you have employees that work for you for that long, and that's something to be said for that. You've obviously done a great job, and I don't know if this is a prelude to you retiring. Hopefully it's not.
That word doesn't exist in my
And I understand that. It doesn't in mine either. But congratulations and keep up the good work. And I give you a lot of credit for what you've done, and thank you for the community.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, you've seen some major changes in law enforcement since May of 1973, from Archibald to your current position as the chief. The last 20 years, our law enforcement is our first line of defense against terrorism, and thank you to all of you for what you do every day, because, you know, if it isn't for law enforcement, we wouldn't have a country, we wouldn't be able to walk our streets. So thank you to all of you for making sure that all of us are safe in our homes. Thank you very much. But Chief, thank you to you. This is to testament to who you are, and it's 45 years of greatness. And like you could see, you know, I mean, some of these people, I'm sure their first jobs were with you, and they've grown into great officers from your example. And you have a son that's second to none and a great family. So you're very blessed, and congratulations on your 45 years, and hopefully you stick around for a long, long time. Thank you. We have a proclamation. Whereas Chief Robert A. Garrity began his law enforcement career May of 1973 as a part-time officer in Archibald Borough Police Department. In May of 1978, he was hired as the full-time with the South Abington Township Police Department. Today, we recognize and celebrate the more than 40 years of service as a police officer. It's actually 45. Whereas Chief Garrity is a graduate of Valley View School, the University of Scranton, the Municipal Police Department Training Education Commission, Act 120 program at Lackawanna Junior College. He was a recipient of the High Academic Award he completed at Penn State University Police Executive Institute, and he attended numerous advanced training classes and seminars. Whereas he is this is great right here. He is the founding member of the Lackawanna County Chiefs of Police Association and served as its past president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. In 2004, Chief Garrity was elected to a 3-year term as the executive board of the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association. Now think about how many chiefs of police we have in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania with 67 counties. That's a lot of chiefs. Congratulations. Whereas an Armed Forces and veteran supporter, Chief Garrity is a devoted husband, father, grandfather, and devoted his life to serving the residents of Archibald, South Abington, and all of us in Lackawanna County. Because if one part of Lackawanna County is bad, the rest of it is, and you're making sure that they're safe in your community. Now, therefore, we, Patrick M. O'Malley, Jerry Notarianni, Lorraine A. Cummings, Commissioners of Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, do hereby and proclaim on behalf of the 214,000 citizens, June 13, 2018, as Chief Robert A. Garrity Day in Lackawanna County. Congratulations, Chief. Chief, would you like to come up? We're going to present.
Don't knock me over there. Jeez. Trying to kill me.
Okay, the rest of the audience, behind them, please.
Do you want us to be in the front, maybe? We'll go down the front, maybe
Well,
they
you
come
need
behind
the
us?
front row too.
Okay, close.
Quite a few.
Okay, Chief,
do you
come
want
on
us-
up.
Slide it behind. That'd be great, thank you. Chief, want to jump up?
Yeah, my wife and my son.
Absolutely. We're still going to have your wife give us say a few words. Congratulations again.
Definitely the best one in this family.
Congratulations. Your son really got you.
Are we getting him?
They're going to come up here?
Yeah,
We need the chief up here. The chief is like your son.
We got other. Okay,
Whatever you guys want.
yeah, we'll go down there.
you guys can slide in right up, if you're just standing on the anchors on the side. And I'm gonna have to fill up.
I just like this row. Is
Oh my
interesting.
God, I'm blown away. This is crazy. But really appreciate it. Come on back.
There you go, you got it, you got it.
Oh, I need the mask for you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Scooch over if you could a little bit, chair there, okay, scooch up, you guys, in. Okay. Good, that's filling in a little bit, very good. You guys want to step up this way, please. Yep, right up there, yep.
What's your relationship with Dave Eisel? Good
Stand
management.
over here, one on that end over there, that'd be great. We're all set.
People have been sending.
I'm gonna kill you, Steve.
Got everybody? Yeah, okay. Okay, everybody looking this way. Here we go. We'll take a bunch. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy with that.
1, 2, 3. Looking at me. All
Say
smile.
surprise.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Good time. You got to suck it in for you know. Here we go. 1, 2,
Thank you all the
3.
time.
Just saying. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, and 3. Good. Good job.
Thank you.
What's going on, bud?
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anything from them from here.
Thank you so much.
Hey, listen.
Good job, boss.
Congratulations, sir.
Oh, yeah. You guys don't plan for overtime. Thanks, guys. That's great.
Thanks.
Get away.
Congratulations.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Gentlemen, congratulations. Gentlemen, great job for surprising.
That happens.
Yeah, just stop. You can just stop at Dorothy's desk. You guys ready?
And you should have from the you better get out of the way. That's great.
People thinking I'm a softie. I didn't any of that thing. All right.
You guys want to go to the conference? Oh, yeah, I just have to. Yep.
Oh, good. How you doing? Great. How you doing? Fine. Very good. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. Congratulations, guys. Yes, take care right now.
You guys, there's coffee and there's wait them all.
They have to fix that podium. Fran, could you set them up with that podium and the camera? Sorry. Let's back up because
Okay. We have, where's Tracy? Okay. Here, I think you saw this. This is the newest one. They just caught on our floor, actually. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go back into order now. At this time, I'd like to bring up Kurt Camoni from the Visitor Center. Kurt heads the Visitor Center, and they do a fabulous job. And we just got this visitor's guide, and I thought it was second to none. I've been here for 6.5 years, and I've never seen anything like this before. I'd like for Kurt to get up and say a few words. Kurt, like I said, I think it hits upon Lackawanna County and whole. And this is the summer version of it.
Yes, we are going to be putting out 5 total guides for the year annually. It'll be 4 seasonal guides. We had a spring guide. This guide covers June, July, and August. So we'll have the 4 seasonals and then an annual that'll come out in January that'll cover the full year. These are distributed inside and outside of Lackawanna County, all around the state. And we also get leads and requests for guides, more than most people would think. We get usually a couple hundred a week requested, and then we process those and send the guides out. And still, even in this day and age, studies show a lot of the decision-making on people's travel comes from actually getting a guide in hand and making the decision. And the counterpart to these guides is, for the first time, Lackawanna County does have a digital guide. All of our guides now you can also find on our website, visitnepa.org.
Is there a phone number, too, if someone wanted to just call?
If they want to, for the most part, the requests happen through our computer setup, but because the calls go in directly to the center and not to our offices at the Electric City Building. So it's mostly done online, but if anybody did want to call in, they can use our office line, which is
I know a lot of people don't use it.
570-496-1701.
Thank you.
No problem.
Congratulations. Like I said, I've seen a lot of visitors' guides, and this covers Lackawanna County thoroughly.
We greatly appreciate it. For the first time, we have a wine tour in Lackawanna County that's highlighted in there. That was new for this guide, and also layout covering the parks. And then clearly the pavilion was our cover shot, and it's our featurette inside the guide for this version.
Kurt, could you tell us who your distinguished chairperson is of the
Absolutely.
Visitors Bureau and how she's guided this along with you?
Rebecca is the reason why these guides look so good, along with Sweet Advertising, who we partner with. And our chairperson, Fran, gives us the leeway and the freedom to do what we need to do to take everything to another level. So without Fran and without Rebecca, who's here with me, these don't look like this. I don't even know how to dress myself by alone. I'm not making these look as good as they
Quit being so humble. This is
It's a full team effort. We have a really strong team between our board and our bureau. We have a lot of exciting things coming. We have a lot of sales initiatives that are coming. A lot of the sales pieces that we're putting out are every bit as impressive as what we're doing with the guys. We're operating at a high level, and we hope to keep putting things out that impress and make you guys proud of the Bureau.
Oh, the Bureau is doing a great job. Congratulations to you and your staff. Thank you. Thanks for coming in. 18-0126. I'm reading the Abington paper, and I was amazed. What the Abington paper had was that this one section, and they asked various questions of various individuals throughout the community, and the question was, if I had $1 million to spend, how would I spend it? So, you know, a lot of times I just go right through this and go on to the rest of the paper. For some reason, I just read all the captions. So I'm reading the captions. And this little girl right here, Madison Lutz, said that if I had, here it goes, I would give it to the Ronald McDonald House. I've had a lemonade stand at my house, and the money I've made went there. And I remember, I'm looking at it thinking, my God, this little girl came up with this. You know, I mean, she's already fundraising for the Ronald McDonald House. And I mean, for the viewing audience that might not know the Ronald McDonald House, the Ronald McDonald House is like a refuge for parents that are at the end of their road because their kids are sick. And it's somewhere for them to go, and they don't have to spend any money. And they can relax, they can watch TV, they can sleep, they can eat, while they're going back and forth to spend time with their children 16, 18 hours a day to take a shower for free. Because a lot of people, when their kids get sick, they don't have an option on this whatsoever. But the Ronald McDonald House provides this. But this little girl, Madison, said if she had $1 million, now think about this, $1 million. She could buy $1 million of candy. She could have bought that school's never going to come again. She could have went on vacation forever. She said she'd give the $1 million to the Ronald McDonald House. And I thought that was fabulous. So we're going to have a certificate for Madison, and I also have a check that I wrote personally, $200 for the Ronald McDonald House for Madison to present to Mr. Bradshaw, who's here representing the Ronald McDonald House. I'd like for Mr. Bradshaw to come up to the podium and talk about the need of the Ronald McDonald House and how people like Madison sustain the Ronald McDonald House for families that really, really, really need somewhere to have a haven.
Well, earlier in the meeting, we celebrated a life well lived, and I think about that. And you know, it's funny. It's a small world. I know Madison's family, and so it's a beautiful thing to see someone so young, thinking outside of themselves, thinking about their community, and doing something special. And you know, Ronald McDonald House is able to do a ton more as a result of a really generous community that's just really steeped in compassion. And we're grateful for the work that you've done and the example that you set, because the example we set lives on for generations. And so for me, I just want to say thank you as a little boy who stayed at Ronald McDonald House, as a father who's had twins and needed the Ronald McDonald Family Room system. So for me, I get to say thanks on behalf of folks who needed it in a tough time. And this last time that I needed it was really tough. And when you're a kid, I think you're a little stronger than you are as a parent. And but I will tell you, thank you very much. Thank you, you and your family, and just wonderful people. It makes our county great. It makes the Ronald McDonald House even better, and especially as we come together and do these great things. And keeping families close is what we say that we do. And it seems simple.
Part of healing. It's part of healing and getting people better.
What could be better? And you know, kids, you know, cope better when their families are close to them. They're able to go through that process, and I think that there's healing in that. And so for me, as a parent, as a child, as the director of the Ronald McDonald House, I say thank you. I say thank you to you, Pat, as well. Thanks. That it's a beautiful thing to be able to stand here and represent such an awesome organization and the great works of the folks of Lackawanna County. Thank you.
Rich, if anybody wants to give a donation to the Ronald McDonald House, what do they got to do?
It's simple in this digital day and age. You can go to rmhscranton.org. Really simple. You can get us on the Facebook page at Ronald McDonald House of Scranton. There's a little donate button there too. We're at 332 Wheeler Avenue in Scranton. You know, you can give us a call. And, you know, if you want to make a donation to the house, I always say come and see it. See what kind of stewards we've been of it. Come on up and take a tour. I'll give you a personal tour of the place. And we're proud of what we do. And so if you want to make a donation, if you want to be a volunteer, you want to make a dinner for families who stay, you want to be a part of an event, give me a call, 570-969-8998.
Talk to the viewing audience about the type of room that you had inside the hospital. There's a Ronald McDonald House, but talk about what you have in the hospital for the people that may not be able to get to the house because it's uncertain times.
Well, it's a beautiful thing that we do. We brought that beautiful house that's in the hill section of Scranton and brought it inside of 2 floors of Moses Taylor Hospital. We brought it inside of Geisinger CMC in an overnight staying area as well. And we're also in Geisinger, Wyoming Valley. And people don't realize that it's the Ronald House. It has a kitchen, has a dining room, has a living room, has space to do homework for the kids. There's a television. It's home inside the hospital. We literally did the front of the rooms so that it looks like the front of the Ronald McDonald House. So you're really heading out of a hospital space into a home without leaving the hospital space. So you can go out of your child's bedroom and right across the hall into a Ronald McDonald House and have all the benefits and the support that they offer, and at the same time be very, very close to your children. So it's a beautiful thing. It helped me an awful lot when my twins were born. Both of them were in the NICU, and my wife didn't do too well through that process. And here I am, a father of 5 children, trying to figure out how to balance all this. And my wife is really like the rock of our family. And I stayed in that Ronald McDonald family room and stayed close to my children who are in the NICU, close to my my wife who is in the ICU, and at the same time I was kept comfortable and with other folks going through similar things, so I had support as well. So for me, Ronald McDonald Family Room is a beautiful process a beautiful place where people can come and stay, and that's 100% of our family, and 100% of the families in Lackawanna County can come in. You don't have to be from Alaska or from New Jersey to stay. You can go to the Ronald McDonald Family Room and be just footsteps away. So thank you.
Great.
Hope I didn't talk too much.
No, that's perfect.
I love what I do.
No,
I've been doing it 2 decades.
Why don't you get it out there? Because it really, really matters. Commissioner Cummings.
Well, that was, it's very, I'm just trying to see where she, oh, there she is.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
Madison, would you like to come up and stand next to Mr. Bradshaw?
Yeah,
And then
come
we'll
on
have
up,
you say a
Madison.
few words. Here's our star. Here she is. Great job, Madison.
Stand right here, sweetie.
Madison,
Okay.
that was really awesome for you to decide to donate to the Ronald McDonald House. I'll have a $100 anonymous donation for you too, as well, for the Ronald McDonald House. Okay, and just so you're aware, when I had some family members that were, my children were sick, I stayed at the Ronald McDonald House myself, so I understand. And it saves on hotel travel. You know, you have all these travel costs, especially if you're out in Danville or in Hershey and Philadelphia. And I think that, you know, you were thinking of probably your friends maybe, or wherever you got this idea on the Ronald McDonald House. That I'd be interested to hear your story on what made you decide them. And I appreciate the fact that you're actually thinking about other people rather than yourself. And thank you so much. You're a testament to your parents And congratulations to the parents. And I'd love to hear a little bit about what your thoughts are on why you chose them.
So why I chose them is one day I was with my friend and we were just plain bored and we wanted to do something, and we had a lemonade stand, and this was when it all started. And we didn't know what to do with the money after the lemonade stand, so we found out a place to give it to, which was the Ronald McDonald House. And then with the question, what would you do with $1 million, that just popped up in my mind that they need it more than I do or anyone else.
That's
wonderful. That's great. That's absolutely awesome. Did you ever tour one of the I wonder if we can get a tour for the family.
Yeah.
That would be nice. So you could see what your money is going to be used for, because it really is something that helps parents and families alike, especially, I mean, as a single mom. I was a single mom, so it really did help me out tremendously. And I know it does help other parents out and grandparents as well for a place to stay. And it's free to the public, and you don't have to pay for the food. It's just donations. So, that's a testament to the community that they donate enough money to provide buildings that, feed and shelter our parents that are in such a traumatic state at the time when their child's in the hospital. So, it really is a tremendous cause, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you chose them. Thank you so much, Madison. Congratulations to you, honey.
Commissioner Terriani?
Madison, you are an inspiration. You're a role model for other young people to do good works and think of other people other than yourself. I'm sure you weren't looking for the spotlight of doing this, but I think you deserve it, and keep doing the good work, and you'll be one of the future leaders of Lackawanna County, northeastern Pennsylvania, I'm more than sure. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Madison, like I said, I was sitting, it was like 10 o'clock at night. My son was asleep, and my other one was upstairs on the phone with his friends, and my wife was actually watched TV. And I was reading the paper, and like I said, I usually just go right through that part of the paper. And I saw it, and I'm thinking to myself, well, what would most people want to spend $1 million on if they had it? What would they give it to? And I was just really, really inspired that your thoughts were about your lemonade stand and how you gave the money for your lemonade stand towards Ronald McDonald House and what the impact is across our country. And that if you had $1 million, you were talking about a house for your family, you weren't talking about vacations, you weren't talking about all kinds of fun things for yourself. You were talking about taking care of a need for these families. It just really caught me. I was really taken back by it. And I cut the little piece out, and I think it was about 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, that was actually in the paper. And I said, we're going to bring her into one of the commissioners' meetings, and we're going to identify what a great little girl she is and what an impact she has on Lackawanna County. So with that being said, I have a certificate of recognition. The County of Lackawanna Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize Madison Lutz in honor of achieving a designation as an individual providing great works in Lackawanna County, given the 13th day of June of 2018 by the Board of Commissioners on behalf of the 214,000 citizens. Thank you, Madison. You're inspirational. Come forward.
Bring your parents up? Mom?
Yeah, you can bring your parents up
yes, too? Yes, absolutely. Who are the two?
Her mom is out in the hallway too, but she had the one who was crying.
We'll get it, we'll wait.
I don't know where she is right now.
She's right in the bathroom.
And this is her sister.
Oh, hello. Come on up.
And this
Be
is
careful on the
Grandpa.
step.
And Eric is her uncle.
Come on up here.
Oh, thank you.
Would it be better? Would this be better in the front or no?
Oh, here's her
Yeah, 'cause
mom.
you can't see the little ones.
Think we better if I did right in the front? Maybe?
Yeah, because you can't
Yeah.
see the little guy.
Let's go up.
Watch your step, Dolly.
Eric,
Here, come on up, please. Here.
come on, Eric. I'm up here.
Go ahead, sir.
You should be very proud, right?
Here's the
Here, Madison, you're over here.
Yep, Addison's over here.
We put the little kids right in the chairs, how about that? There you go. Then they'll be able to see.
Can see them there, Pat?
You see them? Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for you.
Okay, everybody in? Okay.
Where's Mr. Rich? Come here. Come on, Rich, I want you in the picture.
You can sneak over next to Commissioner Najarian, please.
Very good.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I go back?
You can go back there.
Okay, that looks good. Okay, everybody looking at me? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Good. Thank you.
Now we keep Madison here for just a second. Rich Bradshaw for a second.
Okay, yeah.
Rich, come here, Rich.
Okay, Hannah, we gotta come with Grandma. Oh, yeah. Yeah, right?
What's for Commissioner Cummings? Here, Brad.
I don't want to
Rich is
cover
going
her
to be getting it
face.
immediately. Congratulations. Congratulations. There you go. Now you can hear President to Rich. Congratulations. The other 100 was for Commissioner Cummings. Congratulations. This is for you for your room. This is a big picture of you. Congratulations. You're the best.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
No, thank you for the work you do. I appreciate
I have,
Where are you gonna go?
the pre-show is gonna be a little longer after the.
No problem.
Barbara's gonna come and explain.
Okay, Commissioner.
Barbara's out of the route, so after you
Okay,
do Leo, then
sure.
you do Barbara Gmail.
You know, there's Lackawanna County is full of so many great people, and you know, and Madison, congratulations again. What a great job. At this time, we're going to go to 18-0128. Commissioner Cummings.
Small Business Spotlight, DeLeo's Catering in Peckville. And we have, what do we have here from John and Kathy?
Come up to the podium.
Hi, come on up.
How are you?
Hi, can you tell us about how you got started, how long you've been in business, where you're located?
Feels like I've been in business my whole life. My whole family's been in restaurants back since the 40s, bars, restaurants. So I kind of been cooking my whole life. We own several places all the way back to the famous Troop College of Beer Knowledge my grandparents owned. Yeah, they owned it in the late 40s, early 50s.
I remember that name through the
What's
years.
it called?
Troop College of Beer Knowledge.
Wow.
It was right in Troop there on the red light there. My grandparents owned that. It was Angelo DeLeo. Was
Oh,
Lena
come on,
DeLeo.
really?
And from there, they went to Lake Macatec and had DeLeo's restaurant up there, and then Lake Janeiro. They were there for about 15 years. Then my parents opened up, excuse me, DeLeo's restaurant in Peckville, and I kind of took over when they passed away, and our building was ours, and we started the catering business and a pizza place out of there. And then eventually we bought our own building, which was the old Hotel California in Peckville, and made that DeLeo's Catering. Smaller place. We hold about 72 people. And then we do off-premise catering, so. And me and my wife are married 26 years, and we pretty much started the business together.
Very nice.
And that's pretty much how long I've been in business, about 25, 26 years, so.
Well, in full disclosure, somewhere along the family lines were related. I don't know how, but.
Yes. Well, you could ask my son that because he's fluent Italian. He's been to Italy about 20 times, and he's got the whole family tree back to 1700 and something, so.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I just, I thank you for continuing the heritage of your family through the restaurant and catering business. I just, you know, I think that's awesome to take over a business, and I just love that, and I know the other commissioners feel the same way when we continue a business through a family and the kids, you know, generation through generation, and you have that family name and heritage there, and it represents our community and our county in such a great and positive way. And I'm just so proud to have you here, and thank you so much for all the work that you've done to continue that for your
Thank you.
For our
Appreciate it.
community, and so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Terrietti?
I have had the pleasure of getting fundraiser takeout dinners up at Leo's quite often.
Yes.
And the food is delicious.
Thank you.
And it's they do a great job. They help a lot of people. It is a small place, but the food comes out quickly. The food is great. They put baskets out, and they help people raise money for various charitable causes, and they've been doing a good job for quite a few years now.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to go there and see everybody and go. And our own friend Pantuso is going to Italy for 2 weeks on Sunday.
Oh,
I'll be in her suitcase.
Yeah. Fran, we're all jealous again, as usual. John, to you and your wife, it's great owning your business, but you know, it's not easy. Someone doesn't show up, you become the dishwasher, you're the cook, you're a waiter in, you're waitressing, you're bartending, there's a lot to it.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you do it because you love it.
Absolutely.
And like you said, you know, I mean, you have that troop one. That's really, because I remember hearing that name as a kid.
Yep, yep.
But congratulations on, you know, so many decades of, you know, being part of Lackawanna County and contributing to your family. And like I said, it's blood, sweat, and tears, but you know you love it. And the people that come to your establishment are like your family.
Yes.
So
very much so. I appreciate it.
Congratulations to the two of you, and good luck in the future.
Thank you.
And we have a certificate for you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Certificate of recognition. The County of Lackawanna Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize DeLeo's Catering in honor of achieving the designation of a small business spotlighted in Lackawanna County, given this 13th day of June 2018 by Commissioner Patrick O'Malley, Commissioner Jerry Natariani, and myself, Commissioner Cummings. Commissioner Lorraine DeLeo Cummings. Come on up.
I never heard that one before. What's going on here? Hey, Commissioner, you're here.
Okay. Congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah.
That's usually the Irish side. I do that side.
Yeah. Somehow, where?
Somehow, yeah. It's like we both said everyone's related.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks for treating my daughter so well. She
Oh,
needed it.
we gotta get up there and get the food.
Yeah, we
read them.
I was reading in the history. It was like,
Well, we're all the way to 75. The ones way before that, but they were one of the first ones. I remember hearing that. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, they used to give all little things. 43.
That was my second cousin.
But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Congratulations. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Barb's here? Great.
She's what?
Barbara Giovanoli, would you like to come up to the podium and talk about our electronics recycling?
Good morning,
morning, Barb.
Commissioners.
Barbara
Good morning.
thank you for leaving the meeting at the school and coming down to join us this morning.
That's fine. Absolutely fine. I'm glad to be here and to be able to explain the electronic collection program that, thanks to the commissioners and Commissioner O'Malley, certainly wanted to make sure that we got this thing taken care of again as last year. And last year we had a tremendous problem with electronic litter that many of you probably know about or might remember. He was not about to let that happen again, for which I'm personally very grateful, and so are many more. What this collection is a municipally driven collection. And what I mean by that is that it is dependent upon the municipalities. The county has coordinated it with the municipalities, with the state, and there's been a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but we do have it together. Of our 40 municipalities, 33 have chosen to participate. The State Department of Environmental Protection is just very, very happy with that response. And that also made us look a little bit better, Commissioners, so that you understand, since last year's was a humongous effort. So the state is happy with this once again. Thank you, God. Now, how is it happening? Most municipalities have chosen to have a drop-off, which I think is very, very good, because then they can, in fact, verify that these folks are residents of their municipality. It makes it a lot easier for them in an infrastructure fashion, because although they are not, some will say, they're not really paying for this collection, we must all recognize that there are infrastructure costs in terms of equipment and labor and et cetera. So I do believe that the drop-off is the best. What we have on our site now, and maybe we have both, we started with our July collection so that the public would be aware of who was doing an electronic collection in June, and now July we've been working on. It hasn't been easy in terms of getting people to respond on when they're having it, at what times, and where. And these were all key components with the Department of Environmental Protection. So at one point, in fact, it was just this week, our regional director of the DEP said to me, Barbara, I understand you're having trouble. I have a check for over $300,000 and I'm not getting a return email. He said, so I understand the problem that you're having. However, we have everything in place now. And the July collection should be on our website, if not today, certainly by tomorrow, but I expect that it will be today. Our webmaster has been fabulous in that regard. Questions for me?
The big thing we just want to get out is the fact that it's actually, we took this on. This is actually a state situation, but we weren't going to let this Lackawanna County be cluttered. And, you know, I mean, we're taking care of nature. We're taking care of the needs of the community. But the big thing is not all municipalities got involved. And we don't control that part. We
have no control over that.
But we're willing to take any TV that any municipality that did it correctly brought to us, we would take them.
Yes. What is key about this particular collection, which is very different from last year's? Last year's was specific to monitors, televisions and computer monitors only. The reason why we were specific to that was because of the inordinate amount of electronic litter that we were having along the sides of the roads and also in the woods. And then some confirmed and unconfirmed reports that some of these large old TVs that I'm sure many of us remember, the big tube TVs, that they were being taken into the woods and smashed, and that's an environmental concern. It's we don't have enough research yet on electronic litter to know exactly what the consequences could be, but the old cathode ray tubes called CRTs do have hazardous waste within those tubes, plus the glass on those old TVs and monitors is leaded glass. So it was a huge concern last year, and that's why the commissioners decided to hop on board, get this thing going, and it was a very large collection. We had over 30 trailers of only monitors. That would be TVs and our computer monitors. 30 trailers filled of electronics. So that was amazing. Why are we having this problem? If I may address this, you kind of opened the door, Commissioner. I'm going to walk right in.
Barbara's still in the middle of a lot of it, so absolutely.
Yeah, the problem truly is on a state level. There was a law that was put into effect by the Pennsylvania legislature in 2013 that said that none of these electronic devices, and it was called the Covered Electronic Device Act, that they were not allowed to be landfilled, and that every Pennsylvanian would be given the opportunity to recycle these devices at no cost. That's the language of the law. Unfortunately, what happened here was that by the first quarter of each year, the money that was put in by the original electronic manufacturers, that would be the I don't want to say the words of the companies, but the company name, whatever your TV or your computer has on it, those companies were by law to place with the department, by the department I mean the DEP, however many pounds of electronics that they sold in the Commonwealth 2 years prior was how much they had to buy back that current year. So in other words, if the law was still working, this year in 2018, the original electronic manufacturers would have had to buy back whatever they sold in weight in 2016. So it was called a quota system that just hadn't been thought through to what does this mean. It's the old heavy stuff being recycled, it's the new lighter stuff being purchased. That is the crux of the issue. Right now, the state Senate has their bill ready to go. They're on the floor ready to go. It is held up in the House of Representatives. So we need some voter responses asking for this to move forward. Commissioners, counties should not have to be picking up this tab. And I want you to know it's a problem throughout the Commonwealth. It's not just us, but Lackawanna County certainly has been one of the few that have taken it on as we have to clean and keep clean our environment. It's been a huge task.
Keep Lackawanna County clean.
We're giving it our best shot.
Commissioner Cummings?
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing, Barb, and I know it did help a lot of people with the electronics, so thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for approving it. Thank you.
Commissioner Terriani?
Again, Barb, thanks, and it was a good program last year, but it did get a little confusing.
It did, sir. It did.
They had a little pickup truck. Running around at people's houses saying, "Could you take that up there for me?" You know, and that was my year.
That was what you had to
Yeah.
do. Well, thank you for doing
busy,
what you
but no,
did.
that's fine.
However, it's unfortunate that this year, if I may say so, if anyone does go in their pickup truck or their personal vehicle to the recycling center, they will be charged $1.85 a pound. So this is only free if you go through your municipality.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Barbara, I'd like to thank you. Last year went great. There's some little glitches here and there, but you know what? Nothing great is easy, and that was a great accomplishment on behalf of Lackawanna County government.
Yes.
And this year, like you said, it's about the municipalities. They'll receive it, and then they'll bring it to us.
On Fridays only, and they're all slotted. They all have an appointment, and so far, so good. It's going to stay that way.
And Barbara is a department of one, and she's passionate about what she does, and she does a great job for Lackawanna County.
Thank you.
Last thing, your phone number, if anybody's watching.
Oh, please, by all means, phone us at the office. I'd also like to say that the schedule is on our website, which is recycling.lackawannacounty, totally spelled out, .org. Our office number is 570-963-2017, and I have had a tremendous amount of assistance coordinating this with Caitlin English. I don't know what I would do without her. She's been very, very helpful, and I want to say it hasn't just been me.
Thank you, Barb. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you.
Opportunity for the public to address the board on agenda items only.
Joan Hodawanitz, 220 Linden Street, Scranton.
Good morning, Joan.
Good morning. With regard to 18-0118, awarding the Arts Engage recipients, I looked at the backup on the website. It was a one-page document. Apparently there were 6 candidates, and there's a recommendation to fund the first 4. The document does not go into any great detail about whether this is coming out of your annual budget or it's a grant or whatever. I'm assuming that there's some kind of tax revenue involved. I may be wrong, but that was my assumption. And the top candidate was somebody you recently recognized, Creative and Performing Arts Academy of NEPA. You remember last May, they were given a proclamation presentation. And I have their, one of their brochures, and they're a really good organization, doing a lot for children in the county, and that's great. However, just after you gave the proclamation presentation on May 18th, the Times-Tribune, in its Lackawanna County Court News, showed that under state tax liens, this Creative and Performing Arts Academy of NEPA had a lien for $1,499.57. Now, call me naive, call me young, call me stupid, but I would assume that you vet all these candidates before anybody would be considered for any kind of tax revenue in terms of a grant or an award. And this may have been paid, this may have been published in error, but if it was not, why would we give $50,000 to someone who has a state tax lien? I don't know about the other citizens. I think many of them are like me. The first thing I do is arrange my budget so that I can pay my bills. And if that means I don't own a car, and I don't use a cell phone, and I don't have cable TV, and I don't even have an internet connection, and I don't. And when my newspaper subscription runs out, I'm not renewing it because I can read it for free at the library. So if I can arrange my budget to pay my taxes, why can't this organization pay its taxes? Now, maybe the tax lien is being challenged. I don't know. But someone needs to explain to me that they deserve $50,000. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Okay, Chris, you'd like to?
Chris Calvi is the Deputy Director of the Arts and Culture Department.
Hello. There were 4 applicants, and it was an RFQ for the Arts Engage for 2018-2019. In years past, we funded 6 organizations. This year, there was a panel, an anonymous panel of individuals throughout the community that they look at the RFQs, and then they make a recommendation to the commissioners for the funding. I can't address the issue of the taxes, but we can look into that, and we can get back to you on that issue.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Well, I'll give this to Lorraine Cummings, because I know she will follow up on it.
We've given multiple grants out to people that have been behind on their taxes, by the way.
Yeah, we got to make that. That's what's got to be. You have to have your taxes paid.
John, you need
I believe in.
I thought we did.
I believe. Well, this is through. See, this isn't from. This is from Children and Youth, Joan. Just so you know, this Arts Engage is not through Arts and Culture. It's through Children and Youth Services. Maureen does take on the responsibility of getting the request for qualifications through this board that she's created, and they do have a listing. And I thought that in that listing there was something in regards to taxes, but I'll reread them. Is there, Chris? I thought there was a paragraph in there.
It's actually 80% comes from the state, and the Lackawanna County contributes $30,000 for a leverage of $150,000. It comes from the state back to the Office of
Right, it's through Children and Youth. It's what I'm trying to separate here. She was wondering where the money comes from, like tax-wise. And I just want to make sure she understood it was not Arts and Culture that's providing that. That Arts and Culture tax is not providing that money.
Exactly.
But the point is, if you're getting tax dollars, you need to explain if they are in arrears of taxes, why.
Yeah.
Joan, totally believe in what you just said. And if that's not part of the criteria, then it has to be in the future. Okay? You said it's something we'll have to look into, but if it isn't,
Well, this
it
is
will
probably
be.
a payroll tax, is what it's under the state. I can't read it, it's so small.
Boy, you're gonna need big, more than cheaters for that size.
Yeah, no kidding. It's probably, I'm assuming it's gonna be a payroll tax, is what I'm assuming.
Doesn't matter what kind of tax.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I do.
Joan.
I understand.
Anyone else from the public? Okay. Resolutions 18-0125.
This is approving current payables. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby approves the following payables from the Lackawanna County General Fund, numbers 263-399 through 264-951, totaling $6,872,306.97. Electronic fund transfers, including all payroll accounts, totaling $8,694,932.51. And Gary DeBillio, our County Controller, is here to certify these expenses and answer any questions for us.
Gary, is everything up to snuff?
All payables are in order. All payables have been audited and approved, and there's no payments that are related to the ongoing Attorney General's investigation.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Gary?
No, just a comment. Thank you for letting me know that there's no attorney-related fees in this batch to Controller's Office and also to our Finance Department, Tom Durkin.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion approving current payables. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 18-0117.
Awarding arts and culture grants, be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby awards art and culture mini grants to the following community organizations. Borough of Clark Summit, $500 from month-long high school art exhibit at the Clark Summit Borough Building. Dalton Borough, $500 for a concert in the park at the Streamside Park and December tree lighting. Fell Township, $500 for a fall European Heritage Festival at the Groton Singer Hose Company. German Borough, $500 for music at the annual summer concert at the Rippey Callahan Recreational Park. And our program manager from Arts and Culture, Chris Calvi, is here to explain these agreements.
Yes, in January, we sent out a letter to the municipalities of Lackawanna County, the 40 of them, and explain the municipal grant program. And they send in a request for this funding. And as Chief of Staff Wallace stated what the events are for, that we found them to be of merit and to bring arts and culture to the residents of Lackawanna County. We recommend that they receive the $500 grant.
Okay, does the board have any questions for Mr. Calvi?
I have a comment. I mean, I agree with providing these funds. I think that we can provide them, like I said in the past, through the general fund. I don't believe it needs to go through this process that it does. It's $500. And I think that, well, the commissioners have to approve them anyway. So I would rather see this going through a regular general fund account than arts and culture. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to make a motion awarding arts and culture grants? Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 18-0118.
Arts Engage recipients. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby awards Arts Engage, program July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. Arts Engage is a partnership between the County of Lackawanna, Department of Youth and Family Services, Lackawanna County Department of Arts and Culture, in order to offer innovative programming for at-risk youth. Be it further resolved, the following applications are hereby awarded through the Arts Engage funding. Creative and Performing Arts Academy, Kappa, $50,000. Everhart Museum, $47,000. Keystone College, $32,000. Scranton Cultural Center, $21,000. Mr. Calvi?
Yes, as I said, there was a review panel that spent the whole day reviewing these RFQs, and there was specific requirements for the applicants. And there's a scoring technique that is used, and we have these in our files, and we have the RFQs. We received a total of 5, and we're funding 4, the four highest scores. And as I said, 80% of the money comes from the state, and Lackawanna County contributes $30,000 to leverage the $150,000.
30,000 comes from children and youth, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
Okay, does the board have any questions? Okay, I'd like to make a motion awarding the Arts Engage recipients. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 18-0119.
Scranton Tomorrow funding request. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby grants the Cultural Partnership funding request for Scranton Tomorrow organization for the July 3rd fireworks display in the amount of $10,000, for the Pennsylvania Governor's Awards for the Arts in the amount of $25,000. Mr. Calvi?
Yes, I'm just going to give the, may I step to give the commissioners a press release that explains.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Calvi.
Lackawanna County's been selected to host this event. It'll be held in August in conjunction with First Friday, the jazz concert, and other events. So it's going to be a week-long event. The governor will come to the event at the Cultural Center. They anticipate 1,800 people that evening, and it's free and it's open to the public. There'll be some musicians performing, and it's a great opportunity for our area. And that's why we're requesting this to help offset some of the costs that we're faced with. There's a...
This is August 8th?
Yes.
Until when?
It starts the week before because of the Jazz Festival. August 8th is a Wednesday, and it ends up the 8th.
It's the ending.
Yes.
So there's a lot of different events going on in between.
Yeah, because there's some pretty important ones. Who decided the dates? Oh, whatever. Okay.
I think that date was selected by the state commission
It was.
through the governor's office.
Yes. And there's ongoing meetings, and George Kelly's on the committee, Maureen McGuigan, and myself.
Of course.
Okay, anyone have any questions? I'd like to make a motion granting the Scranton Tomorrow funding request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Malley?
Yes. Thank you, Chris. Okay, 18-0120.
Awarding the courthouse monument repair project. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby awards the proposal submitted for the correcting and repairing at the Lackawanna County Courthouse to monuments to Martin Caulfield Memorial Works, Honesdale, the lowest responsible submission. Mr. Calvi?
Yes, there was a REP released on February 16th. The deadline for the submissions was April 30th, 2018. We received 3 proposals. One proposal was for $79,707, and the lowest one received was $57,843, and the middle one being $64,015. And the committee met twice. The committee asked the people that submitted the applications to come in and review their applications and answer questions. And the committee recommended Martin Caulfield Memorial Works to do the work and to perform it. They said they could do it within 90 days. They brought samples of their granite in to show us what it actually would look like. And the other companies were excellent companies, but the committee just felt Martin Caulfield was the one. And Martin Caulfield would like to meet with the committee one more time to review some of the inscriptions, some of the wording. So that'll be scheduled within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I'd like to just bring to the viewing audience's attention that this is something that these mistakes were made when they originally put in all the new granite over at the courthouse approximately 10 years ago. And it's this administration that's taking care of all those corrections that everyone's seen and misstates and misquotes and everything else. and it's a long time coming. I'd like to thank the Historical Society for stepping up, and the committee and everyone else that was involved. This wasn't easy, and they had to go through basically every single inscribed piece of granite over the courthouse to make sure that it was correct. So it's being corrected, and hopefully within the next 3 to 4 or 5 months, it'll be all completely and utterly finished. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
I just wanted on the record that the one correction in regards to the recognition being provided to Jesus Christ is still up in the air and in question, and I think that the Historical Society should not be the ones that are recommending that. I think that should be given to local ministers and priests to decide how that should be appropriately written. The Historical Society, I'm sorry, should not be making that decision. And that's going to be an ongoing issue with me, and I'm going to have to not vote on this unless that's changed. That's just the way it is, because, I mean, there's a way to appropriately write the scripture, and it's not being appropriately written, and the result of what you guys all decided is not accurate as far as I'm concerned, because I've spoken to numerous ministers who said that it should be attributable to the author, which is Jesus Christ, as reported by the prophets.
Primarily why we're going to have the meeting to decide that, because the Historical Society, I personally contacted 2 high-ranking officials within certain religious orders, and I was given a recommendation to bring into that meeting. So that's what we'll gather as many.
Who was this highly ranking religious organization?
I'd rather save that for the meeting and disclose it all.
Okay, because I mean, I've spoken to local ministers and priests who are saying that what you are saying is inaccurate. So I need to know those names, because I'm challenging that with this vote. And unless it's written the appropriate way, I will not support it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioners, if you don't mind, just for the record, state that normally for county requests for proposals, the Controller's Office receives bids and maintains them until the bid opening. In this case, the Controller's Office was not involved. This may be considered outside the county. Just want to state that for the record.
Okay.
Why wasn't it done?
Why wasn't that?
These were requests for proposals. They were not sealed bids.
Oh,
They
okay.
were
Okay.
advertised
Sorry.
at a public
Gary, for
meeting, but
bringing
it
that up
turns out
anyway.
they were the lowest responsible
Yeah.
bidder. So they were not sealed bids, Mr. Controller. We would always have you here.
Thanks, Gary. Okay, so the meeting, please make sure that Commissioner Cummings is aware of the meeting itself. Absolutely. Okay, I'd like to make a motion awarding the courthouse monument repair. Do I have a second?
Well, I want to know if we can table this until they decide the actual writing on that. If
Okay, I
not,
was-
then I'm going to have to abstain, because I want to make sure it's done appropriately.
Roll call?
Commissioner Terriani?
Yes.
Commissioner Cummings?
I'll abstain, based on what I just said.
Yes. Thanks, Chris. Please make sure that Commissioner Cummings is there in advance, and whoever she'd like to bring with her. 18, whoever you'd like to bring. 18-0121.
This is approving a submission of a grant on behalf of the Theater Went Veterans, VFW. Approving the submission of Greenways Trails Recreation Program Grant to the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, on behalf of the Theater Went VFW, number 25 Scranton Veterans Memorial Committee for the Scranton Veterans Memorial Park. And we're pleased to have Mr. George Kelly, and he's also joined by Sandra Obshensky from his office if there are any questions on this. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
My pleasure.
Hey, George.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sandra Obshensky is our grants manager. I want to thank the Commissioners for allowing us to hire a full-time grants manager in the department. She actually oversees, administers, and contributes and writes over 65 grants she's worked on in her position as grant manager. There's been 40 gambling grants, LSA local share from Monroe County for over $2 million that she submitted or we submitted on behalf of other entities. There's been 13 redevelopment grants. 5 of those were cleanup from many years ago, so there's about $5 million of cleanup. but that's been another $8.75 million that has come to Lackawanna County. And it's been with the support of the commissioners, state reps, and the senator bring that money in. But to date, we've had over $12 million of grants that we've administered or actually submitted and won in competitive environments. And Sandy is the person that does that. So by you allowing us to create the position and seating that position, we have really helped to improve the quality of life in our communities. In addition, because we're allowed to get some administration of the grants, over 80% of Sandy's salary and benefits are reimbursed. So it's not a burden to the general fund, the taxpayers, to have this position while she's helping all 40 municipalities of Lackawanna County. What I'd like to do is bring her up and let her talk a little bit about these two Greenway grants, since she's really the person who's doing all the heavy rowing and lifting on this to get a better understanding. So, Sandy?
Sandy Abshinsky has been contributing to this community for many, many years.
Thank you.
I can't believe you started all of it when you were 4 years old. It's amazing.
Thank you so much for that compliment. It's true.
It is.
These greenways, it refers to this item and the following are Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grants. This is an offset of the Act 13 Marcellus Shale Fund that is fees that are paid by the companies that are currently doing drilling, what have you, that it's a portion of this that they have to set aside specifically for greenways, trails, basically green projects that includes recreation.
Great. Does the board have any questions?
I'm just reading what is this going to pay for?
For the Scranton Veterans Memorial Park, their portion, the portion that they're applying for in this grant, they're ineligible on their own.
We have to be the conduit.
So we have to be the conduit for that, which actually puts them in good stead, and they agree to this also. It means that they have to follow Lackawanna County's procurement policies, which includes bidding, prevailing wage, and those various items, so that it's done correctly, it's done on time, and that the money is used wisely.
That's Jim Couture is one of the main people that are running this, and all the great other veterans that are moving this project forward.
Correct.
So we're just a conduit.
So,
Okay.
so who applies for the grant initially? Because this is a letter from 2016 that I see here. From Scranton School District.
They had used, well, the 2016 was when the land, there's a couple
premises down by
letters.
Scranton High School they're utilizing.
They donated land to...
The Scranton School District donated land to be used specifically for the Veterans Memorial Park.
Okay.
And that's where you're probably reading.
That's what I'm reading here. So then, well, there's a lot of stuff that happened prior to us getting involved, I guess, huh?
Well, it's a very big project.
Okay.
Actually, this is a second portion. This is actually their phase 2. Phase 1 was part of an LSA grant that they've received, and they're using a portion of this LSA money to then match the additional funding to do this.
They're putting the footers in right now down there as we
Yeah,
speak.
it's moving along. It looks very good. This grant in particular, it's a maximum amount of $250,000 that can be applied for. It doesn't mean that they're going to receive that amount. It just means that that's the cap.
But that's what you
to
shoot
which you
for.
can
That's the
shoot
top
for.
number.
Correct. And then they have to provide a 15% match, which is what they're going to use a portion of those LSA funds for. And then we are allowed to collect basically 2% administration on whatever their award is going to be.
You're paid for doing the job.
That is
Good.
correct.
But it's a great job.
It is a great job.
It is. This
And
is something that really
Yep.
is something they've been working on for a long time.
Yep, and the city is involved, the school district is involved, the city is involved, the city is providing funds. They had to do their geoscience environmental portion to check on the land prior to their excavation, what have you. The city had provided money for that, and then we'll also provide additional support, I believe, through OECD, and that's what we had met on and spoke of.
And I think that what George was referring to was in our meeting in regards to this. I had questioned why you're writing grants when we purchased a program to get these grants? What was it, like a $60,000 purchase?
E-Civis, that's just a tool.
It's to find them, but she's to bring.
Well, no, I mean, that's why I'm assuming George went into the big dissertation as to what her job was, but, I had questioned that in our meeting, so it wasn't anything to you, Sandy, it's just that I'm always looking at ways to save money, so I was questioning
course.
why we needed another grant writer if we purchased a program that is a grant program, so I
Well, a grant
appreciate you
program-
answering that
well,
for me.
thank you. But a grant program doesn't write your grants for
Right,
you. That's a
exactly.
human being's job. The program is literally, I believe that the license is over 3 years.
Right.
It is, it's a research tool, development tool, and also it provides a clearinghouse, so to speak, for our audit trail. Which is always, it's always good news when instead of the auditors trying to locate items and information, especially grant-related, that they can literally pull up a report that we've created by inputting all of the grant information. It makes that trail a lot clearer and a lot cleaner.
Well, I appreciate your answers to that
Thank you.
question, so thank you.
Thank you.
But that, just so you're aware of why that happened, I question everything, so it's just what I do. It has nothing to do with you personally, so I just want to make sure that you knew that.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the work you did on this for the vets.
Thank you.
Commissioner Terriani?
No.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion approving the grant for behalf of the Theodore Wint VFW. It's an honor and privilege to be part of this. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 18 dash.
You're working that.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Sandy.
Thank you so
Great
much.
work. 18-0122.
Approving the submission of a grant on behalf of West Scranton Neighborhood Network for their Community Center Development Project. Approving the submission of a Greenways Trails and Recreation Program grant to the Department of Community and Economic Development, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, on behalf of the West Scranton Neighborhood Network for the Community Center Development Project. And again, Sandra Opshinsky and George Kelly are here to answer any questions on this grant application. Thank you, George. It's good to see Sandy over here. She's speaking.
It was the
on
first
these.
time I
It's
met
great.
her. I
You
didn't
look
even know
wonderful.
what she did. That's why I asked.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. When we bring, would like to come up, I know you heard the president of the West Scranton Neighborhood Crime Watch is here. Would like to come up to the podium, talk a little bit about the community center, and it's coming along.
Karen Foster with the West Scranton Hyde Park Neighborhood Watch. We have made a change to our name just so it's easier to say.
Okay.
So that's the representation on the application or the
Karen, talk
agreement.
about a little bit of the beginning and where we're at now, because this is big. This is a long time.
Yes,
going
this is going on 7 years from the concept of taking this warehouse that was not really being used, and it was a bit of an eyesore in the community. We were very successful and were awarded a LSA of $164,000, which allowed us to purchase it. And we purchased that in December of 2015. We were awarded money from the county from the Reinvest, $15,000, that we were able to make some immediate repairs and items that were required by the insurance company. And then recently, this past fall, NeighborWorks gifted us an arts and culture grant for the beautiful mural that's on the side of the building that depicts many memories and landmarks in West Scranton. So currently what we're doing is building the capital campaign so that we can make the beautiful transition. We're working with Mike Mueller, who's our architect, and he has a beautiful vision for the building. We're also building the business plan for the programming.
Does the board have any questions for Karen? Karen, great job. I know this is something this matters to everybody, especially West Side. It's a big thing.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion approving the submission of grant on behalf of the West Scranton Neighborhood Network for their Community Center Development Project. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
18-0123.
These are aging contract amendments. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby enters into contract agreements with the voluntary Action Center of Northeastern Pennsylvania, the Meals on Wheels of Northeastern Pennsylvania, and Karen Schimmelfennig, an administrative officer with the Area Agency on Aging, is here to represent the department and answer any questions.
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. So the first contract amendment is for, it's a one-time opportunity for us to match the Voluntary Action Center contract, and it's to match the funding in the amount of $25,000 to enable them to apply for a grant to support their volunteer programs.
Does the board have any questions for Ms. Schimmelfing? Okay, I'd like to make a motion entering into an aging contract amendment. Do I have a second?
Oh, wait, this is aging, okay, yeah. Oh, but he's not here, Jason's not here.
Jason's on bereavement leave.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion entering into an aging contract amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 With further questions once Jason gets back.
18-0124.
This is entering into an agreement for remote older adult monitoring. Be it resolved, the Board of Commissioners of Lackawanna County hereby enters into an agreement with United Way of Lackawanna County and Wayne County for remote older adult monitoring. Ms. Schimmelfennig?
So Rome it's going to be a new agreement with United Way, and it's remote older adult monitoring, and basically it's going to be monitoring an assessment of health and well-being in a community setting. We're targeting those locations that are underserved in our area by a senior center, so it will be Scott Township, North Pocono, Simpson, and the Old Forge area. They will be volunteers. We're looking for senior volunteers to actually do the monitoring, and they're going to partner with a trained telehealth tech. They'll monitor blood oxygen levels, blood pressure, pulse reading, weight, mental health screening. Those results are fed into a system which will go straight to our RN on staff, and then she can monitor that, and it can help manage the chronic health conditions, and it'll be reported directly right to their PCP or their care manager or family member, and it enables us to keep a better eye on them, maybe prevent like an emergency situation. You know, it'll just, before it rises to an ER visit, we may be able to see that it's, you know, that chronic condition is getting worse and help intervene for the consumer.
Yeah, and this is not something that I could question you on, because obviously you're filling in for our director.
I'll try my best.
Well, this is new programs. There's 3 new programs included in this one, according to what our meeting had resulted in.
There's Rome, which is new, and then the Meals on Wheels one is an amendment, but it is a new service being added to the Meals on Wheels contract.
Yeah, and it's not food for Meals on Wheels. What they're doing is they're going to vacuum and do light housekeeping, correct?
Not for the Rome one, but for, yes,
Meals
for the
on
Chomp
Wheels,
one.
yes. And then there's another one, what's the last one that are on? There's 3
I only know
included.
of 3. There was VAC for the volunteer programs.
There it is,
There was
VAC.
Rome for the remote older adult monitoring, and then there was CHOMP,
Okay.
which was the community health outreach and meal program.
Yeah. Well, community health, and I mean, when you say Meals on Wheels, people assume, okay, Meals on Wheels is a great thing. Why would we want to not fund that? But that's not what they're providing. These are 3 new programs. In the meeting that I was in, I had asked, you know, well, why are we creating more government, more assistance, more things out there? What's going on that we need this when we have home health companies that provide these services? And to me, it's duplication of services. And that's already paid for through Medicare, Medicaid, and privately. And I think it's competing with home health agencies and their marketing techniques. So I disagree with infringement on the private businesses that are out there. They're already having a hard enough time keeping their businesses open. We don't need to compete with them at this point. So I have a couple problems with this, and that's why I did not discuss this with you. So it's not fair to question you on this. I discussed this with the director. He disagreed with my assessment, and I haven't changed my stance. I've read this, and I know myself in home health. One of our marketing techniques was to go to the senior senior centers and provide blood pressure screenings and flu vaccinations and things like that. So where is the RN being paid that's going to be? Is there going to be an RN in each?
The RN is already on staff in our
On
agency.
staff, okay. Okay. So the county pays for an RN to be on staff at the,
We actually have two. One is retiring in June. They're class titled as a community health nurse through civil service.
Okay.
They don't do hands-on, so it's strictly a monitoring or reviewing assessments and providing like an opinion.
right, because they wouldn't have their medical charts there. Because they don't have these people as patients, they're just there, right?
Right, right. They review our level of care determinations.
Okay, thank you very much. And I like I said, I'm not going to grill you. I'd rather grill the director, and I'll save you from that torture, so.
Okay, any other questions? I'd like to make a motion entering an agreement with remote older adult monitoring. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
No, and it's not because I don't support our seniors. It's, like I said, I don't believe in competing with other businesses and what they already provide, and I don't believe in duplication of services. Thank you.
Yes. Opportunity for the public to address the board?
Joan Hodawan, it's 220 Linden Street, Scranton. I was looking at this tourist guide. Copies of this are available at the Lackawanna County Children's Library and at the Albright Memorial Library.
Why would you know that much about the library?
Oh, shocked. But, you know, it really could be updated because it has all these items for the walking tour, including Scranton High School and City Hall. But it lacks the Children's Library and the Albright Memorial Library.
Well, you're going to give them a call up there and let them know that that has to be on there for next year.
Yeah.
Joan, are you're good for that? Make sure you let them know.
I'll do that, don't
Okay,
worry.
you got it.
Speaking of the Albright Memorial Library, I want to thank you, Commissioner O'Malley, for coming to our 125th birthday on June 1st. It was a nice night. And the library is very important, not only to those of us who are involved with it, but to the entire community. And
Well,
hopefully
you're the
we'll
newest member, so I had to make sure it's
yeah,
there, you know?
that's true. So we have to make sure, you know, that goes for another 125 years.
Are you going to stick around?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
You all better be there for the bicentennial, no excuses, okay? That's only 75 years down the road. But one of the things I did during that was I have books to present to each of you. And, of course, Jerry and Laureen, for whatever reason, you weren't able to make it. Have you been reading your book?
The Ghost Tour, yes.
Haunted Scranton.
It's good. It's real
Whose
good, actually.
stories about Andy Gavin's pub and the county courthouse and the prison and all other places. The city's haunted. It's got a,
Oh, I believe that, Joan. I
You
truly
should read
believe
that.
that.
Are you sure?
and because Jerry couldn't make it that night, I gave him his book this morning. Jerry and I both grew up in Bull's Head, okay, which is part of Providence, North Scranton. Although I'm 4 years older than him, we share memories of Gallagher's Market and Grant School and North Scranton Junior High School. So I gave him a copy that he can, because, you know, there are books that you can go to the library, read once and return and never look at again. And there are books that you'll read maybe once a year or every 2 years or every 3 years. You pull them out of the library, read them and return them. But there are books you got to have your own copy. And like Pioneer Neighborhood, which is the history of Bull's Head, is a nice thing because it's something he can share with his children and his grandchildren. That's where he grew up. Because a lot of those landmarks are now gone. Gallagher's store is gone. St. Vincent de Paul Parish is gone. Grant School is gone, okay? And I hope you enjoy Haunted Scranton. I really do. Until somebody writes the history of West Scranton. We'll try to get somebody to do that. But Laureen, is
Yes,
it
ma'am.
true that you live in Old Forge?
Yes, it is.
Were you raised there or you were like a recent immigrant?
No, I'm a, what do they call that when you move into a place? I forget what they called
You
me.
come by boat?
Yeah, transplant. I'm a
Did you
transplant
come
from
by boat?
How long
music.
you been living there?
Since 1988.
Well, and where'd you live before?
Music.
Oh, well, this is for you. This is right up your alley. This was for you.
Okay.
This is Old Forge and Music.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll be getting a special presentation.
Thank you very much. That's awesome. Thank you. Well, that was really great.
But like I said, there are books that you just sometimes need to have your own copy, and I think you will enjoy that and keep that and pass it on to your kids.
Thank you.
You know.
Am I in it?
Sorry. Your kids,
I don't think you want to be.
grandchildren,
That looks
your
like
friends,
it's all
your
black and white. I
neighbors,
don't know.
you know, whatever.
Thank you,
Okay.
John.
Well, that was the good news. So
Uh-oh.
something else has come up. As you may know, Maurice Schumacher, who couldn't be here today, made a discovery a week or so ago that she asked Scranton City Council about the Electric City parking garage, okay, which was sold in September of 2016 to Mr. Basiliga for $1. And nobody really knows yet how it happened, but when it was sold by the city, it was obviously tax exempt under the city. It was never moved over to the taxable column until she brought it to the attention of Scranton City Council. Then Jim Lockwood did a few articles in the paper, and lo and behold, now Mr. Basiliga has a tax bill of $255,000. And that's good. Now, Marie has been arguing for a long, long time for all the tax-exempt properties in Scranton and by extension Lackawanna County to be reviewed to ensure that each property is indeed worthy of being tax-exempt. And there is a simple test. It's called the HUP test, based on a court case that went to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in 1985, Hospital Utilization Project versus the Commonwealth. And there are 5 factors that you have to meet to qualify as a purely public charity. You have to advance a charitable purpose. You have to donate or render gratuitously a substantial portion of your services. You have to benefit a substantial and indefinite class of persons who are legitimate subjects of charity. You must relieve the government of some of its burden, and you must operate entirely free from private profit motive. Apparently, Mr. Basiliga didn't meet all these criteria, so now he's going to pay us $255,000. But the bottom line is, there must be thousands of properties in Lackawanna County that are being carried as tax exempt. According to Mr. Lockwood's research on this issue, it's the Lackawanna County Tax Assessor's Office responsibility to make sure that properties are either designated tax exempt or taxable. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the director of that office is not an elected official. He's appointed by you commissioners, correct?
Yep.
And so he's answerable to the commissioners,
Yep.
he or she. And of course, the commissioners are answerable to us voters. So what I am going to recommend is that you have an old-fashioned come-to-Jesus meeting with that office, okay? Not holding anyone necessarily to blame for this one oversight, but I think that since we haven't done a reassessment and that's not in the cards for the future, that office download and print out every one of those tax-exempt properties. You can easily exclude the government buildings, the schools, the churches, and other obvious nonprofits, okay? And then scrutinize everybody else. If I have to pay taxes and I can't weasel out of it, I want to make sure that everyone labeled tax exempt is worthy of that designation. And just so you have it, here's your copy of the HUP test so that you can explain to them what to do. And in 2 weeks, I'll ask you for an update about what you're doing about tax-exempt properties. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else from the audience? Okay, Mr. Foley, you'd like to get up and...
All right, commissioners and public, I'd like to give you a general overview of what happened here. There was an appeal made by the Electric City Parking Company, and that was made on 9/7/16, after they had purchased the property in August of 16. At that point, their appeal was looking for a reduction in the assessment of the value, and they were also asking for a 2-year abatement on the property because it was, as they said at the time, unusable and it needed substantial repairs. The city transferred it to them for $1, and the city gave them $1 million in a grant to fix the repairs in the garage. The board, at their meeting on October 26th, they denied the appeal for the reduction in the property assessment, but with a further recommendation that the board look at it as far as the abatement is concerned with the repairs that they were alluding to at the hearing, that the place was unusable. In our department, we then took that, we pulled all of the deeds, the leases, and we came across was the file of record in the recorder's office. There was a lease agreement that had been signed between the Scranton Parking Authority and NDC, which was a nonprofit out of New York. When they did that, they gave them a 35-year lease. At that point, it was determined that they were on a nonprofit status because it went from a public authority, which was exempt, over to a nonprofit. Okay. Then the city parking authority sold on, the recorded date was they sold on August 26th of 2016. They sold to Electric City Parking Authority. But in the course of the sale, they not only filed the deed for that, but they also filed a memorandum of the lease agreement. And in the memorandum of the lease agreement, that went that the Electric City Parking entered into a lease deal with Community Development Properties of Scranton, a Delaware nonprofit. That was a lease that the city had entered into in May. So it was, when we had looked at it, it was our consideration that the lease, 35-year lease that the City Parking Authority gave to the community development, also known as NDC, as a nonprofit, would follow through, because in the lease agreement, it says that the assignment and assumption of the lease agreement and consent dated August 19th between the original leaser and leaser assigned, and that they would take all right, title, and interest, and the leaser assumed all original leaser's obligation under the original lease. It further went on to so state in there, in that lease, just give me 1 second here, we'll get that page. But it went in there that the Scranton Parking Authority or the Electric City Parking Authority would be subject to whatever lease agreements were in there. Since the authority had already entered into a lease back in March with the NDC, and they were an exempt nonprofit group. It was our consideration, that the board's consideration, I should say, that a further study should be done on that, which we were looking at. In the meantime, NDC turned around and they hired a management company, which was for a profit management company, not ownership, but it was a lease agreement that they gave to them to manage the company. And ABM now manages all of the parking authorities in the city of Scranton, all the meters and everything else. So the question came up as to which we were looking at is, did that lease agreement, and I'm not an attorney, but the lease agreement that the Scranton Parking Authority had signed with NDC would follow through, and Electric City Parking Authority, they accepted, by accepting their bill of sale or their recorded deed, they accepted all the lease agreements, liens, encumbrances, everything else that was in there. So that was the decision that we looked at. That's what the Board of Appeals had looked at or asked us to look at, and that's where we're at, is doing that. I provided freely to Marie Schumacher, who I've known 50-some years. She's not that old? I provided her with the lease of all of the exempt properties in the city of Scranton as she requested. I told her the assessment office had nothing to hide, to review them, to get back to me, let me know if there was any questions. And I never heard back, except that the city council, she went and brought it up to city council, and I found out the next morning about this, and we got into it. But as I say, I'm not a lawyer. We had our former solicitors looking at this. They had not given us a formal decision at that point, but it was my feeling, after 55 years of being a realtor and being in real estate business and seeing leases, that that lease, and correct me if I'm wrong, solicitors, that lease that Scranton Parking Authority had given in March to NDC, that was a valid lease that the Electric City Parking Authority had accepted when they took the deed. I stand corrected if that's not it. After this came up, we did put immediately the Electric City Parking, we did send them a bill, and we will let them litigate it if they don't feel under these terms of the lease. But I think at this point it would become a litigation matter. I can see both ends of the fence, and that's where we're at. We had nothing to hide. There was nothing to hide in the assessment office, Joan. And it was, you can call it an oversight or what, but it was caution that we were looking. And the board, and their decision, signed it, and they denied it. But it was the question here of asking about the 2-year abatement, which in their request they had put. So that abatement would have been, if it was granted, or if it was deemed acceptable, would have applied to the 2017 and the 2018 tax assessment values.
Solicitors?
There were 5 separate agreements in there that they filed.
The lease was originally to a nonprofit.
Right.
But
The ownership is not nonprofit.
That's right.
Yeah,
So the bottom line, John,
after
is
we
this is still under review.
After we discussed this, we reviewed this with the solicitor for the tax assessment office, Attorney Carey, and she came to the opinion, and we agree with her, that the ownership of the garage is not nonprofit. In other words, Electric City Parking is a for-profit Pennsylvania corporation, and at that point it was determined that they would issue them a bill for the 2017 and 2018 tax years.
before that, it was nonprofit owned.
Before that, it was owned by the city parking authority.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
That was
nonprofit.
Be
Right.
exempt and
Right.
and a
The-
nonprofit lease,
the-
where now it's a private owner.
Correct. The renter, the tenant, the lessee, is a nonprofit corporation out of Delaware. It's a Delaware nonprofit.
Which has nothing to do with that.
But they don't own the building. They just
Right.
lease the property. Right. So
So a private owner is technically making money from a nonprofit lease.
that's correct. Yes.
Which would make it taxable.
Well, sure,
It's
the
no longer
owner.
owned by government,
The owner
so
was
it's-
no longer
In
owned.
fact, when Electric City Parking purchased the garage from the parking authority, they did pay transfer tax, which if you were a nonprofit, normally they would not do. So they did pay the transfer tax at the time of the sale.
But there was an anticipation where you assumed that they would be in court for it, right, Mr. Foley?
I had a very strong anticipation that they would be in court on it because of the lease that was existing from the Scranton Parking Authority to NDC, which was a valid lease for 35 years, that was signed on March of 2016 before the sale of the property. And it's always been my understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer, that if you have a lease on a property, if you, Commissioner, sell the property to Commissioner Cummings, and you have a lease with Commissioner Notarianni for his store for 20 years or 30 years, that lease would follow the transaction or the deed that was there. And that's in the deed that they got, that's what's in there, is that Electric City was taking over all leases, obligations, requirements. I mean, it's a whole section that's in the lease that I have here.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that was sort of the interpretation that we had, and that's the reason why we were looking at it to get it further.
Yeah, it's certainly, I mean, I can understand it was a confusing situation because you had a non-for-profit lessee, but you had a for-profit ownership of the building, and I mean, there's some, it could potentially still be litigated, don't get me wrong. I mean, they can take the position that their tenant is non-profit, but again, the situation isn't based upon that. Our position on it would be that it's owned by a for-profit corporation, and as a result, you know, it is subject to property tax to the county, the city, and the school district.
If the University of Scranton rented the building for somebody to use as a classroom, that doesn't make that building
non-profit.
No, the person who owns it, doesn't matter who they lease it to, it's a privately owned structure, okay?
Correct.
But they were under the anticipation that there would probably be a court hearing and some other stuff. The big thing is, do you know of any, or do you feel there's any other ones, any nonprofits out there right now that we should be concerned with?
I do not. We've been looking at them, and I do not find. We require, and we have required for years, they provide us with a 50C3, which is a IRS document saying that they're certified as a nonprofit. And normally, in my 9 years here as a tenure as the director or assistant director, what I have done is always presented those to the board to have the board make the consideration, and I have them sign off on that. So we have an exemption form that they must fill out, and they must submit that form. We have 3 forms: commercial appeals form, there's a residential appeals form, and there's an exemption form for appeals. And we make them, anybody that's coming in for an exemption, we make them fill that out, provide a 501c3. We've had numerous attorneys coming in representing these various groups, and they argue that point that, you know, the 501c3 gives them the status of tax exempt.
And John,
just
procedurally.
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask, the procedure.
If a nonprofit buys a building, they then have to make application to the assessment office to be tax exempt.
Correct.
And you send that to the board for review, correct? So you don't make that decision unilaterally. You don't sit there and say deny. You send that to the board.
I submit those to the board of directors. That is the form. I have them sign their decision and put whatever changes they make.
They hold a hearing on it or whatever.
They hold a hearing on it.
And then they make a determination as to whether or not that property is exempt or not exempt. So,
yes.
And that's part of the public record, correct?
Well, yeah, this is. Yes. We then submit this at Commissioner's Cummings' request probably a year ago.
Right.
We send the final results to all the school districts, to all the municipalities,
right.
To the Commissioner's office and all. And we give them, they have, the municipalities, the school districts, they have an opportunity at that point. If they don't agree with that decision, they can do what they call a reverse appeal.
I was going to say, they have the municipalities and the school districts have the right to
they can challenge that. They can challenge what the board does.
That's correct.
And it's, I will say that finally we're getting some school districts now because of cuts. They are challenging them. I have 5 this week that come in from 2 different
Because of that great reassessment video I put up that told them how to do it. Because nobody knew. That's because of the reassessment video I put up that told them how to do it because they didn't know before that they could, apparently.
The school districts and municipalities?
Yes, and that's just the feedback I got from all the meetings that I did, John, so that's what they told me they didn't know. But, you know, that's just another subject. But anyway.
It's been the law for years.
Yeah, but anyway.
We have sent them letters, Commissioner. I will debate you on that point.
No, you don't have to debate me on that. No,
we
you
have
won't.
sent them letters years ago. Years ago, we sent them letters telling them that they had the right to do
that wasn't
so.
Mr. Foley, we're done with that point.
Okay.
That wasn't a debate about it.
I just want to bring this to your attention. In light of what happened, I just want to make sure there's not ever going to be another situation where there's any type of slip through or went through or whatever happened in this situation. Will you please have your staff look in to see if there's anyone that we may question? is there 10, pick 10 properties that we should be questioning on, just to make sure. I'm sure your staff is diligent, they're making sure that everything's okay, but we got to make sure, you know, we're trying to stretch a nickel into a dollar. So we got to make sure that anybody that's out there that should be paying their taxes have to pay their fair share, because the rest of us up here on the dais are. So I implore you to actually, to get this done, we need to find if there's a 10 that we should be looking into, that we dig into it.
I have a couple of questions.
We have provided to Commissioner Cummings and to Solicitor Brazil, we have supplied to them a list of all the tax exempts in the city of Scranton. And we would be more than happy if
John, in addition to that, I've provided to the city of Scranton a comprehensive list of every property in the city of Scranton, which includes all nonprofits on it, and that information was turned over to them, I believe, about 8 weeks ago, and it's public record. All of the I believe there's approximately 4,000 properties on nonprofit out of the 102,000 in Lackawanna County.
Yeah, there's. I don't know the exact.
It is
but
public record, and they're available.
Substantial amount between school
Anybody, any request to
authorities, dioceses, churches.
Right. So we recently received another request from the city of Scranton. We previously sent this information to them approximately 6 to 8 weeks ago. I gave them a letter, and I gave them a disc to make their work easier with all the information on it.
That's right.
Yes.
I think I want that to reflect on the record. We did give them all this
correct.
information.
That was provided to them.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Commissioner Cummings, but I thought it was important the record reflect we gave that to them.
I agree, that was important. Thank you, Andy, for interrupting me, because that is extremely important to let people know.
But
because
it shows
in
also
fact,
what we do at our municipalities, that we work with all of our municipalities.
well, in fact, you know, I mean, the simple fact is that this is all an end result of the city's mismanagement of its parking authority. So, and just ask any citizens struggling to pay their bills how they feel about paying $30 parking tickets to a for-profit corp. So, just saying. But in regards to, you know, questions for Mr. Foley, I would like the public to know the process on what happens for a nonprofit that all of a sudden is now profit. How does the process work in your office to change them from exempt to non-exempt, or vice versa?
Let's, for instance, it's a church or a nonprofit such as Neighborhood Works. As soon as that deed is filed and we pick it up, we take it off of the, well, let's take Neighborhood Works. When they buy a property, which they've been buying a lot, renovating and putting back on the tax roll, Neighborhood Works, we submit it to the board. They normally give them a tax exempt status. They finish that property within 6 to 8 months, no more than a year. They then report back to us, or we pick it up from the deed and we put it back on the taxable roll. The churches do the same thing.
What's the exact process is my question. So you get this deed from the recorder of...
we get deeds. I get deeds, copies every day. I get the daily sheets of every one of the transactions that happen there.
Okay.
I then go through, or our office staff goes through, and we pick out, you know, what was transferred.
Do you have like a meeting of everyone around a table and you all check it off, or how does that work?
It's mainly between myself, my sub-assessors, and my computer operator who is feeding those.
So 3 people.
In. Yeah.
Okay.
So normally that's what happens. They look at it, if they have a question, they bring it through us. And at that point, we make the determination.
John, perhaps you should explain, too, that even though a property is on where it's non-exempt, there is an appraised value on the property.
Correct.
So you do not have to go back and reappraise it. We had a situation when somebody comes here and questions one at our meeting where it was changed, the value was already on it, so all you did was put it back onto the rolls, so that people understand that.
We will put it back. We cannot change the values, as you know, since the last reassessment in 1967, arbitrarily, unless they add more than 200 square feet on the property or not. Everybody is entitled to a roof, whether you want a new roof or you want to keep your 10-year-old roof, which, you know, Commissioner O'Malley wants to keep his 20-year-old roof, that's fine. If you put a new roof on, we cannot change that assessment. That's state law. Windows, you want to replace a single pane window with new thermal pane windows, we cannot change that assessment.
Stuff you can do, and then
You put a new kitchen in, a new bathroom, we cannot We cannot do that. We cannot change because of a sale price, even though there's a low assessment on the sales property, because there has been no reassessment, we cannot change it. So if the assessment on that property was $9,000 and that property sold for $120,000, we are not able to change it unless we can show that there was either an additional property put on the property, a garage or a shed over 200 feet that
Square
has
footage.
water or plumbing, or if they added more than 200 feet on.
What if they were on a reverse appeal?
On a reverse appeal, the municipalities can look at it, they can challenge that.
That's
If
right.
they feel,
So it can be changed.
but only if they challenge it in court.
Correct,
as
which
a
is the
reverse
municipality's responsibility to do that,
appeal. It is or the school districts.
or the school districts. So it absolutely can be changed on reverse appeal.
But we cannot do that.
So I've said this multiple times.
That's
Now-
up to the school districts and the municipalities if they want to.
Yes, but it can be changed, so please
Yeah.
just refrain from saying it cannot be changed, because it can if there's a question mark in the municipalities and the school districts. Okay, so that was my question on that. But in regards to the process, I just wanted to make sure who we knew was changing from exempt to non-exempt and vice versa. And that would be your discretion and two other people, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I would review it with them.
I'm sorry?
I would review it with my sub-assessors.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank
Foley.
you.
Okay, commissioners, other business? Mr. Cummings?
Well, I might as well start with that, huh? Apparently, people feel that a reassessment would have helped that. I don't believe it would have. I don't even believe it has. I mean, I don't even know why that came into question, but, you know, our assessors did their job. They were asked to lower the amount on that, and they didn't. They did their job. So I think our office is doing a tremendous job. The assessors are doing a really good job. So I'm giving kudos to them because, you know, we have asked, you know, publicly, I've asked, not we, I have asked to try and make sure that we be consistent in our appeals process and our assessment. I've asked for those to be published on our website so people can see them, so that people understand how they work and what the results are from some of these appeals. And I've tried to go around the county and educate people on, you know, the assessment process and the fact that there are reverse appeals, and there were absolutely on the record people that said they had no idea in council that they could do this. So that's just a fact. So I'm glad that I did those videos. I'm glad that I did go across the county and instruct people on reassessment, and I'm glad that I was effective in some small way. And you know, I think that I commend Marie Schumacher on her work. I always do, and Joe and you as well, because you don't have to spend your time as a citizen looking this information up and going to these council meetings. You don't have to do that, but you do, because you care about your community, and I appreciate the work that, you know, anybody that does that, I appreciate their work. So thank you for all that you do, and I thank Marie Schumacher for her work as well. And for bringing this to the attention of the city and the county. That I'm done on that subject, so I'm not sure if they want to take that or not. But the tax exempt status is taken care of. And, oh, I did, John, I hope that we're not charging a late fee to Mr. Basiliga, because this really wasn't his error, as far as I can tell. This was something that we were working on and decided to hold off on until we got an answer from our solicitors. So I hope he wasn't charged any late fees and was given the opportunity of having the discounted period, because he would have had that if he had a bill. So I would assume 2017 and 2018 he would have been given that discount period rate. I don't know if he did, but if he didn't, I think that's something we should do for him, since it was not his error or fault.
That would be up to the we do not issue tax bills. That would be up to the Tax Claim Bureau, Single Tax Office, when they issue him the bill as to what.
I'm talking about the county, for the county portion.
Again, he issues, it's the city of Scranton, so he's issuing a county bill, a library bill, a school bill, municipal bill. So it was his discretion, it would be the single tax office discretion as to whether they
Okay.
waive those late fees.
I hope he doesn't charge them. I don't know. We'll see.
Chief of Staff, you want to reach out to Mr. Fox?
We could reach out to Mr. Fox and send him a letter from the solicitor asking him to,
Yeah, I would
to
think that
put him
that'd be
into
fair
the
to the
original
business. Why would
discount
we-
period from when he
Fair,
received
fair.
the bill.
Yeah, why should we have
That's a
to?
good point.
Okay.
You shouldn't be charged any of that. This medical marijuana is not going to go away as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to continue to talk about this issue. Where to start with it? First, I just want to say that to the other two commissioners, I appreciate your leeway on and room to discuss this. But I do want you to understand that I've been in touch with CCAP and a couple of physicians, and I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people at the state legislatures, Congressman Marino, a lot of people in regards to how we got here with this. And I was on conference with CCAP because I sit on a board with them, and they had their task force from October of last year to March of this year.
Commissioner,
And
maybe you want to tell people who CCAP is. We all
County
know.
Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Andy. I do that. I assume people know what I know, so thank you for correcting me on that. They sent me their report and their recommendations and their findings, and I just want to read a little bit about their findings on this, and I'll be happy to give the media a copy of this report as well, or you can just go on their website and get it yourself. Findings and recommendations as that the task force reviewed the potential impacts of Pennsylvania's medical marijuana law on county operations. It became clear that the most challenging aspect would be the lack of clear guidance due to the disconnect between state law, which makes medical marijuana legal in the Commonwealth, and federal law, under which marijuana remains a federally banned substance. For this reason, and despite numerous conversations and discussions, the task force was unable to develop recommendations for counties in how to address many of the issues that follow. Instead, the task force has issued this report, which is meant to make counties aware of the many ways in which individuals using medical marijuana could impact programs, services, and day-to-day operations so that counties will have an understanding of the multiple laws and regulations at play and questions that should be raised with staff and solicitors. In addition, the task force has identified several areas, particularly regarding human service programs, where further discussion will need to be held with the legislature and state and federal agencies to determine how they intend to view medical marijuana in conjunction with program requirements and funding eligibility. Throughout their recommendations I read, and as I read and more, I became more and more appalled at the way this was rolled out. It's just unbelievable how this is rolled out. We do serve a role in this medical marijuana rollout. A big role because it's going to affect our staffing, patient rights, transportation issues, courts and corrections, law enforcement, sheriff departments, insurance, veterans, and there's questions in every single aspect. And I hate to tell you, Solicitor Brazil, Frederickson, and Sarah, but they are directing all problems and questions back to you at the state level. And that is our job and our responsibility. We have to come up with laws and ordinances regarding all of this in regards to if our employees are going to use medical marijuana, including those at our prison, if our prisoners are going to be using medical marijuana, which we've had multiple problems already. Now we're going to have an additional problem here. How many things can they throw at us and say it's our responsibility and that counties should be proactive to consider Here's under recommendations. County should proactively consider what job duties it may determine to be restricted under the language provided in sections 510 and 1309 of Act 16. It may also be in the best interest of counties, in consultation with their solicitors, to develop a list of positions that are eligible and ineligible to use medical marijuana in non-work settings. This is our job. This is what they're saying we were supposed to be doing. I went over to Act 16 and I read that. And let me just tell you what they said about our prison employees. Because we had 18 months to take care of this after it was passed, by the way, which I'm not sure if anybody knew that. The Department of Corrections, this is just one section. The Department of Corrections shall adopt a written policy no later than 18 months from the effective date of this section regarding the possession and use of medical marijuana by employees in state correctional facilities. The governing authority of a county may adopt a resolution no later than 18 months from the effective date of this section regarding the possession and use of medical marijuana by employees in a county correctional facility. Were either of you aware of that? I wasn't given any direction on that. That's throughout this whole entire act that they've been, that they passed back in 2016. And people can claim that I was unaware of whatever they want to claim. When they say they passed medical marijuana law, what that meant to me was they were researching it and they would find out if it was even able to be given in an appropriate manner, come up with dosages and just a prescription that was written by a physician and handed to a patient. None of this. This is us. This is the way they rolled this out is where they have a recommendation handed out by a physician based on diagnosis. Then they go to the state, they take a test or something online, they get a card, they're approved for a card, and they go to a clerk who tells them, just take one puff the first time and wait 15 or 20 minutes, or just take one small bite and wait an hour or two before taking another. It's clerk with 4 hours training. What kind of role, what kind of, it was irresponsible. I'm sorry. I'm appalled at the total disregard to our citizenry by the elected officials who decided that an illegal drug could be sold at a retail shop with virtually no medical oversight of it or research prior to its rollout. And they can show me studies that they have in the paper all they want, but the simple fact of the matter is that there is no legitimate studies done by the federal government on this medication, and it is in Act 16 itself, where it states, and I'll read you the section if you would like. Section 1901 is in regards to the research portion, but I'll read you a couple of the paragraphs they decide. They apparently made this legal so they can get 25 people with the same diagnosis, because in Section 3 it says when the database contains 25 or more patients with the same serious medical condition, petition the United States Food and Drug Administration and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration for approval to study that condition and the impact of medical marijuana on the condition. They knew in 2016 there was no research done on this. It's right in their act. Section 7, if the United States Food and Drug Administration and the United States Drug Enforcement Administration reject the proposal for the research study, take all reasonable steps to collect and collate data on the serious medical condition and the use of medical marijuana as a treatment for the serious medical condition, and consider submitting an additional request to the United States Food and Drug Administration and United States Drug Enforcement Administration for a research study on the same condition. It goes through the whole entire thing. So, when people tell me read something, I don't think they believe that I'm going to go and read it, but I do. And what I read in this act, I'm sorry, is appalling to me that this is the opiates all over again as far as I'm concerned. Now, maybe it's not as, well, I don't know. THC is pretty, the milligrams that they're shelling out in some of these shops is pretty bad, and some of the reactions that some of these people are having are horrendous, and it was proven in studies previous to that anyway that they've had schizophrenic results from it, because we had Marinol. Marinol is a pill that's provided, and it's, you know, it's used for HIV patients and AIDS. That was already approved by the FDA for nausea. So I don't know why they had to go ahead and pull this, other than wanting it recreational. That's the only thing I can come up with, is they're trying to push this recreationally, and that's that. You know, and the other concern that I had was, just as CCAP had stated, is regarding how it was released and it's illegal at the federal level and somehow it's legal at the state level. But in 2013, which is right in the CCAP report, the Obama administration issued what has become known as the Cole Memo, in which Deputy Attorney General James Cole said the Justice Department would refrain from prosecuting medical marijuana businesses and users in states where it was legal, and that it would prioritize more serious marijuana offenses. However, in this January, Attorney General Jeff Sessions rescinded that memo. So they can come after us, and they can come after people that are using it, and I don't understand how a state can do this to its citizenry. It should have had the test done first, and the research done first, and that's just being irresponsible. I can't imagine not doing the research and then just rolling this out this way. It's just, I think it was done, it's just irresponsible. That's just the way I feel. I don't care who signed off on it, it was irresponsible, and that's my stance on it. Thank you for that leeway, I appreciate it, and know that there are things that the county is going to have to do within the next 18 months. Oh yeah, well the AP article. I when I first brought this to the attention of the commissioners, 2 days. You know, I mean, I basically said there was no federal research. There was no federal research done. It's a fact. It's just a fact. It's illegal at the federal level. That's why the universities can't do it. You have to petition the federal government and the DEA for permission to do it. And I was chastised. I was bullied. I was sent terrible messages on Facebook and wherever, and you know, made fun of in the local newspaper. And yet 2 days after I said it, the local newspaper put on the front page an article from the AP making a hazy recommendation that basically says exactly what I just told you and read at CCAP. But yet I don't know what I'm talking about. So I don't know what to say to that. I just don't know what to say to all I could do is tell the public in these meetings and do my best to get the information out there that I want people to understand and read. And I do go door to door, so I will be talking about this door to door with people, and you can count on that, because I don't have a problem with that either. I am working with Barb Durkin in drug and alcohol as well, because she is really not happy with the way it was, that there is such a lack of direction given to her. And on our conference call, there was about 6 or 8 other commissioners across the state that I'm on this board with that were not happy either with the way this had been rolled out and placed in our laps to deal with. So it's not done as far as I'm concerned, and I'll continue to talk about it, and hopefully it'll hopefully the edibles will never, ever, ever be allowed. They will be banned. And as a matter of fact, I think that we should actually make a resolution for that. John, is that something that we can do? I mean, at the county level? Well, why not? The state's just throwing stuff at us and telling us that we have to make these rules, right? I don't need a medical opinion. I will tell you right now that if it were up to me, I would ban edibles, marijuana edibles. And I'll tell you what, we have oil going out there in these stores that I'd be concerned, because we are having our local picnics and bake sales coming up. And I'll tell you, one person, just one person ends up with this stuff in their, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be pretty. Okay, on to better news. I am, as everybody knows, on the Conservation Board, and there was just a local regional bay and ag report sent out for May of 2018, and the Scranton Times had in their newspaper an article for Chesapeake Bay's health improving. And we're going to be doing some recognition for our local farmers and conservation boards. And I appreciate the commissioner's support on this because it's really important. I mean, Chesapeake Bay is now doing better and healthier because of us. And we're finally, our farmers and our conservation boards are finally getting recognition for that. And I'm just so proud of being on this board and the work that they have done and continue to do. And I want to make sure I thank Fran for her work in helping make sure that they get recognized, as well as the Scranton Times for the work they did on recognizing some of the areas that they've been working in on Envirothon and, you know, the important crops that everything that they had done in the past 2 weeks. So thank you to the Scranton Times for that. John, anything else that I told you I want to talk about that I'm forgetting? I just want to make sure. Yeah, and I did thank the assessors, right? Yep. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. No, Joan, I owe you an answer. The reason that I was not at your event, Commissioner O'Malley and Notarian and myself were marching in that Veterans Parade the day it was raining, and I don't know if he had pneumonia at the time, but he looked like he did, and he had, you know.
Well, the one that day.
Yeah, and I ended up leaving a little bit early because I had a cold, and that rain that we were marching in just did me in, and I ended up getting a really bad bronchitis where I wasn't allowed to be in public because I was contagious, I guess, 3 days. So I wasn't sick at the time of that, I don't think, but what happened was...
What is that?
Sorry. I wanted to go. I did. I was looking forward to it. I'm sorry I missed it. But you know what? I'm sure it was. And nice. I will definitely, and I do appreciate you giving me that. That was very nice of you. Thank you. And no, I try to get to all the events, but I didn't go to any events for the couple weekends because I didn't want to... well, first infect you, and second to do too much and relapse, because this cold has been going around this office for about 6 months, and everybody keeps passing it on to each other. Yeah, but I cheat. I do cheat once in a while. I have to, I'm not going to lie, I did cheat, but I've been doing really well. So thank you for asking. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Commissioner Notarianni?
Good.
Okay. Chief Wallace, could you have our legal department take a look at the paperwork that Commissioner Cummings received from CCAP? And also, I want to do a follow-up with Director Durkin for drug and alcohol. This coming Friday, we have Senior Fun Day, 3rd Annual McDade Park, 10 to 1 p.m. Music, food, bingo, free tours, the Anthracite Mine, vouchers for the coal mine tour, and vouchers will be available for the farmers market. It's this coming Friday, 10 to 1 at Pavilion number 1. That's behind the main office, and we will also have pizza this year too. June 23rd, we're going to have Fun Day and Bike Safety Fair, and it's going to be 11 to 2 p.m. We're going to have free food, beverages, bike safety helmets. So these helmets could be utilized for your skateboards, your kick and go, your tricycle, your bicycle, whatever. So you can come out and get your free helmets. We're going to have police officers on hand to talk to you about bike safety, so bring your bicycles. And they will also be doing bike checks to register to win for a free bike. And the DA's office will have free fingerprinting. They will have their bookmobile will also be there. So we'll have the free fingerprinting from this attorney's office, opportunity to win a free bike, and the bookmobile will be there. And I'm sure maybe Joan could be there with the bookmobile. June 24th.
That's my birthday. I won't be there.
What's that? Also, the second floor of the Albright Memorial Library, which also I learned at the 125th anniversary. The library is fabulous. I've been going there on and off since I'm a young boy, but they do have an elevator that goes to the second floor. And I did not realize, I thought that was some mansion or something. That was built in memory of the Albright family. It's really beautiful, and what a magnificent job they did on the construction of the building. It's a fabulous building. Also on June 24th at 1:30 p.m. we'll have Field of Dreams at PNC. And this is a big one. Please come out for this. This is down at the Lackawanna County Courthouse. July 3rd, Lackawanna County Courthouse presents Scrantastic Spectacular. With the festival beginning at 4 p.m., we're going to have an orchestra there. There's going to be lots of family fun. And at dusk, we're going to have an incredible fireworks display in downtown Scranton. Please be there. Starts at 4 o'clock. It's a great day to have your family, great memories, and great quality of life event. And also, I'd just like to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day, a happy and safe Father's Day. And my dad died 26 years ago, and he is my hero. And I'd just like to wish all the dads a happy and safe Father's Day. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
I gotta go. I have a lunch date.
You have a half second to go over this?